know Central Mountain High School, but many of us might not know the story of Central Mountain High School. The Central Mountain we know today was once 3 separate schools that belonged to 3 separate communities: Baldwin-Nittany High School, Lock Haven High School, and Sugar Valley High School. To most Central Mountain students, the existence of these schools only survives through stories told by their parents, rambling on about their glory days, or maybe a few plaques in the hallways at the high school. But those things don't bring justice to the impact these schools had on their communities, and in turn, what the communities meant to the schools.
Lock Haven had a wonderful atmosphere. When I think back to the dances after the football games and the times that you had to meet in the hallways with your friends between classes.
I remember the pep rallies at Lock Haven Junior High, and they were always really well attended, and the kids were very, very vocal.
Well, the teachers knew all of your names, and there was a lot of school spirit. They had pep assemblies that were attended prior to a lot of the big games, whether they were football games or wrestling matches.
A lot of students would attend any athletic event. I mean, there was not much student outside of school, so that we'd fill the gym.
School spirit was really excellent, and the kids went to an awful lot of the things that went on at the time. And that even when I first started teaching, we would take 13, 14 buses of kids to football games.
Well, the atmosphere I thought was great at that time. They really supported, like when we got into the playoffs for football, we went out to Erie, I don't know how many times to play playoff games, and we had more fans than what Erie did, and it was their home stadium.
In my senior year, it's either junior or senior year, this was the end of the 60s and beginning of the 70s, and Vietnam War was a bit of a mess at the time. And there was a lot of student protests on college campuses, and I guess we felt like we had to get in on that too, so we started protesting our dress code that we had at the school, where they had rules about the length of your hair, about the types of clothes you could wear, the length of a girl's skirt. So we ended up with a student government for the first time, and the Student Advisory Council, I think, is what we were called.
Back then I had a little paddle about this big, and I'd crack them with them from time to time. But so many of the kids wanted to be known that they were hit by me. They would do something stupid. They couldn't call me by my first name. And we'd be in health class, and it says, "Yeah, Mike, what do you think about?" And there was only one reason he did it, because he's going to.
I really don't remember any fights. I really don't.
So Sugar Valley is obviously a really small, tight-knit community, and the atmosphere at the high school was no different. Everybody was very connected. Everybody was very supportive. Everybody knew each other. You were walking around the same building as kindergartner, as a high school student. And I still even remember, as a little elementary student, walking around and seeing the high school students, the junior high students, and not that you cross paths very often, but every now and again you would see them and you looked up to them as role models, and as just looking almost as a glimpse into the future is what your high school career is going to look like.
I mainly remember the consolidation of Sugar Valley to Ben. And that was obviously the first step in getting to Central Mountain at the time. I don't know if everybody even kind of realized that.
Initially, the first merger was Sugar Valley merged with Baldwin-Nittany, and that occurred in 1997.
I know they really tried to make the transition smooth, and I know we had visitation, and I know we came over like the year before. From a student perspective, as a junior in high school, it was a free day off school. So we had fun, and we were over in another building, and we were seeing other students, and I remember that being a pretty positive experience.
When we merged Baldwin-Nittany with Sugar Valley, we had a series of meetings, not only meetings with faculty members. Faculty members went up to Sugar Valley, and they came down to Baltimore Nittany, and then we took students up to Sugar Valley. We invited the Sugar Valley kids down, so there was kind of like a transitioning. The kids knew the lay of the school. They knew where they were going and how to get there.
And I think actually the students, once we talked them through what we anticipated doing, the transition over to Baltimore Nittany and how many of them would still be together, I think they were afraid they were going to get lost in the crowd. And once we said, no, I'm sure you'll still see, 3 or 4 of your classmates probably in each period. We'll try to put some of you together in your own room.
But they tried to, when they brought the kids over, they tried to keep like them in little groups. Like they wouldn't, isolate one Sugar Valley student in a class. I remember teaching an Algebra 2 class that year, and they put 3 of the Sugar Valley kids in that class.
It's hard to just say that, yes, the transition was smooth and everybody adapted, because not everybody did. But at the same time, I think it's unfair to say it was a terrible transition, and because I think some people, it was pretty easy, and they did a pretty good job with the transition. The atmosphere was very welcoming, so obviously I took great pride in my experience at Sugar Valley, and I wasn't happy to see that end, but at the same time, my coaches and teammates and my school community was very welcoming.
I think the thing that I strove to do was to create an atmosphere where kids look forward to coming to school.
So often people use the word family, and it really did apply to Baltimore Nittany.
And I think at Baltimore Nittany, again, I think our classes graduating was probably around 200 maybe, and everyone knew everyone else.
It was hard not to become friends, good friends. You had to draw that line and know what side the student belonged to and the teacher.
It was small, so it was very cohesive, but it was also very competitive, and teachers demanded a lot of us as students in high school.
In 19 straight years, we scored above the state average and national average. So academics, it was strong. Football was big at Bend. We had a streak of 40-some in a row at one time. Our band was outstanding. Traveled all over the Northeast to these contests.
We had an extremely good band program. We had a performing competition band program is what I meant to say.
Baltimore Nittany Band, Paul Kellerman was phenomenal. He had an enormous band here. He had a competition band that was absolutely, no other could outdo it.
It was always, there was a rivalry there. And I'll be honest with you, when we were at Lock Haven, you really didn't get to know, I didn't get to know many of the teachers and coaches that were at Baltimore Nittany, because there was kind of like a piece of it. They were Baltimore Nittany and we were Lock Haven, and there was that rivalry piece, who was the best and piece of it. And there was always that piece. It's like when we were good in wrestling, they were good in wrestling. We were good in football, they were good. Who was the better piece of it?
I mean, it wasn't fist fights that I'm aware of or anything nasty. Baltimore Nittany played, they didn't have lights. They played Saturday afternoon at Mill Hall. Lock Haven High played football Friday nights. And then everybody from Lock Haven, and I'm not sure, I mean, it's like Central Mountain and Jersey Shore now perhaps, okay? You have rivalries, and it was always pretty good, clean, and healthy. Ben would play Saturday afternoons, and we'd all would go up and stand along the fence and quietly root against them. Plus, the Lock Haven guys always really kind of liked the Baltimore Nittany girls quite a bit too. So it was kind of give and take.
Baltimore Nittany was a little bit of a smaller school. Lock Haven was a little bit bigger and more, I don't know, I want to say they were a larger school.
If we were in a big area, we would be the big city of Lock Haven, and you would have the farmers maybe up here, more in the Mill Hall and the Sugar Valley area.
Both communities just embraced their school. They embraced the athletics of it. They embraced the the pieces, and they supported their kids so much, and that was their pieces. I mean, that was the school was the community. It was that neighborhood school.
Main reason I decided to get on a school board was there were some things going on with public education that I did not agree with. So I decided to get on the school board and see what I could change. During that time, the issue of consolidation came up, which turned out to be a pretty hot topic.
If I remember correctly, it goes all the way back into the 60s when they consolidated the administrations and had a single superintendent. And it was sometime in the late 60s or the early 70s when they got the wisdom to see that we just couldn't afford all these administrators, and that there was a lot of overlap, and that it would very easily, particularly when you look at Lock Haven and Baltimore Nittany, it would probably no more than 5 miles apart.
It was a 20-year discussion before it started to happen, and I think it came up again because of again, the economics and how large the district is. Keystone Central is, I believe, the largest school district in the state of Pennsylvania. It's the size of Rhode Island.
Yeah, I think there definitely was a situation with the declining enrollments that Central Mountain, Keystone Central School District was faced with. Are we going to lose opportunity for our students, or are we going to consolidate and try and keep the opportunity in a larger building with all the students in one place?
And I think one of the first steps that they did, the school boards did, was they looked at Sugar Valley. And they brought the Sugar Valley students over from Sugar Valley to Baltimore Nittany High School. And when people kind of saw that happen, and they figured, okay, well then the next thing's got to be Baltimore Nittany and Lock Haven coming together. And then one of the things that really started to spur the consolidation piece is Lock Haven High School was in just such bad shape. I remember I was teaching in the 3rd floor junior high of Lock Haven Junior High, and the roof was so bad that they had tarps in my room so that the rain would come. When it rained, the water would come through, and then it drained, and then there was a rope that went to a bucket.
The cost that we would have had to try and renovate the Lock Haven school alone, the school boards, in my opinion, in the past, never spent the money to keep their buildings up like they should have.
Well, actually, I think as the school board explored it and studied it and started to put forth the facts of what it could mean, it, if anything, it solidified my thoughts that this was the right direction to go.
And that's the direction it went. By a 5-4 vote, the school board elected to consolidate Baltimore Nittany High School and Lock Haven High School. Two schools that were once considered rivals were now set to collide under one roof and to prosper as one school, Central Mountain High School.
When the rumors became a reality, I think I was ready for it. I think I had done my homework on what was going to happen. The school board had done a pretty good job, with explaining what was going to happen.
I can remember one meeting that was held in the Lock Haven High School auditorium that went to 2:30 in the morning, and the reason that went so late was the fact that everyone that was there was given 4 minutes to speak. So if you do the math, and the meeting started at 7, you get some idea how many people. There were hundreds of people.
A lot of people thought it was a good idea, but probably an equal amount thought it really wasn't a good idea.
Remember, people at each other's throats and everything else that just didn't want to see it.
People, and I remember specifically the meeting that went to 2:30 in the morning. There was a gentleman from the Sugar Valley area, I remember his name, but I won't say it, who basically just stood up at that meeting and said, if this continues and you keep pushing this, I'm going to kill you.
That those who opposed, they didn't want to give up the color of their uniforms. Lock Haven was purple and white, Boligo Nittany was black and white. They're the enemy.
Well, it turned out to be almost like the Civil War. We had people in families, communities that had different feelings about it. I've often said that it's easy to close a school, but you can't kill a mascot.
Well, I didn't really care for the consolidation. I liked the schools because we had a good school. And Bald-Eagle Nittany had a good school, and Renova had a good school too, but they're smaller, and Sugar Valley had a good school.
It was not a popular decision in the Bald-Eagle Nittany community.
I personally was against consolidation. I liked the way things were, and I think most of the decision was based on how much money could be saved.
It's taken a while for the people to adjust to this thing. Maybe when we old people pass away, you won't be talking about that like I'm talking about it, because they'll only know one school. But you still have in this area, you still have people who remember these two schools, and they won't give it up.
It became more of an emotional issue with the parents. I always said if the parents would have gotten out of the way and just allowed the kids to move forward, we would not have had the amount of negative emotional issues that we had.
It is sad to see your high school not exist. I'm sure your parents can tell you that if they went to Lock Haven or if they went to Bald-Eagle Nittany, if they went to Sugar Valley. It's sad to see your high school gone.
I think the parents of the kids at that time were the ones that were really adamant against it.
I think kids adapt so much more quickly than the adults. That once we were there, I think they sort of enjoyed having such a large array of people that they could be friends with, you know. But I don't know that you'll ever change my generation to say, oh yeah, I'm Central Mountain. I think it'll happen. It just might not happen all at once, just gradually.
I remember Karen Probst, the principal here at one time, had given us a book and asked us to read it on, I think it was something like who moved the cheese or don't move the cheese, because people just do not like change. But for me, I was ready for it, so.
We allowed the students to pick the colors, to name turned out to be the Wildcats, to do the naming. We tried to keep the students involved as much as we could, because to me it was all about the students.
Kids actually kicked around mascot names, and they didn't want to stick with any of the mascots. The two that came to the forefront at that time from the one group that I was there that day was actually a monkey being a mascot and a wildcat being a mascot, and I am so glad that the wildcat won out over the monkey.
Fitting into a new building is a distraction, and you want to eliminate the distractions as much as you can. And I just don't think we did a very good job of that. People came to this building, not literally, but figuratively, wearing purple and white and black and white. That's just the way it was.
It seemed like it took a while for the kids to get the enthusiasm back. I think they felt like they did not have ownership of the school yet.
So like I said, when you put two of these schools, it's hard for them to adjust, because we're used to saying, you know, Lock Haven, Ben. In time, this will come together, but it takes time, because everyone loved the way it was before. Like I told you, it was great, both sides.
A wildcat's just fine with me, you know. It's still a cat.
I mean, I just think it's really cool what you guys do in the section, and that's a great thing. And
those kind of things really, you know, help to build the school spirit here. I've seen it so much better in the past 5 to 10 years than it ever was at the beginning. At the beginning, the school spirit just was not there.
You went from a small school to a big school. And I think that was one of the big things, is that we went from that small community school to we thought we were a big school, but you know, in learning, I mean, I really think that just a big school in number, but we're really still that small community school in reality. And looking back and trying to, now that I've been around the community more, I really think that Central Mountain, really, we need to really go back and look at where our roots were. And the pieces, it is Baltimore, it is Sugar Valley, and it is Lock Haven.
Oh yeah, you always want to remember the past, but you know, the future's where you're headed.
You also moving forward's always good. Move forward, and you do use good judgment in making changes.
Be yourself. Be yourself. Don't listen to everybody and have them tell you what to do all the time. And if you're not sure, go find out for yourself. If you told me a story and I'm not sure, I'd go somewhere else and find out about the same story.
Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who you are.
That makes the difference in your school. You got to be proud of it, where you're going. If you don't like it, if you're not proud, you're miserable.
When we came to the high school, they asked us, you know, for the first yearbook, they asked us to write something. 5 of us teachers, they asked when worlds collide or perspective, and this is mine. What I wrote for the yearbook that year. They asked us what happens when worlds collide, when school districts come together, and I just wrote, collide is a verb which describes 2 or more forces running in together into one another with great impact. That corresponds with the merger of Baltimore, Nittany, Sugar Valley, and Lock Haven high schools. The impact, however, has been positive as we view the myriad of educational opportunities, meet and make new friends and grow together. We, the Central Mountain High School staff, faculty, and students have begun to create new traditions as an amalgam of the 3 former schools. My prayers and best wishes are extended to the Central Mountain High School class of 2000. I wish for each of you the very best that life has to offer as you endeavor to collide with and make an impact on the world at large.